I'm always been convinced, and today more than ever, that we'll be able to survive in the future only if we can evolve in good faith, good intelligence, both with environment, nature, and new technology. And that those two factors in our life are much more interdependent than we think. And I've always been interested and curious about this. And actually, the two covers are also saying something else. One, the peaceful green and blue, is about the fact that we may survive in good intelligence and good faith with nature, and thanks to technology and modern technology. The other one could be that unfortunately, if we fail, finding solution that could be brought by artificial intelligence and new technology.
So what are your own views then about where AI is going? Is it something that troubles you, or do you see this as an evolution of technology that allows us to augment ourselves, to make the best of ourselves as human beings?
I think more than ever we should be optimistic by subversion, because everybody is sending us and news channels and a kind of dystopian future, or even dystopian week next week. So I think that it's in the human nature. We have, human beings, a kind of recurrent habit to think that yesterday was better and tomorrow will be worse. And it's not true, because 200 years ago we were living on Earth, probably 40 years was a very old age. So even if it's not at all perfect, as we know, at least the previous futures have been better than our grandparents predicted. And when we are thinking about artificial intelligence, you have always two sides of considering it. It's like the fission of atom. The fusion and fission of atom, brought us the atomic bomb, but also huge progress in biology and medicine and all that. The same for artificial intelligence. I'm quite convinced as an artist that in 15 years, maybe less from now, artificial intelligence will be able to create original music, original movies, original stories. And that, of course, apart from creating new problems for copyrights, it's going to also be something that is going to ask us and to oblige us to consider ourselves as creators in totally different situation. But on the other side, we know that we are using 10% of our brain, and maybe artificial intelligence may help us to use the other 90%.
How do you see, as technology has evolved, the input of the human being? You've already said there that you think within 10 or 15 years, AIs will be generating music that will be we won't know it's been created by a computer rather than the human being. And I suppose the other part of that question is it necessarily a bad thing? If we engage with it emotionally, does it matter where it came from? As a musician, are you saying, over my cold, dead body, that's going to happen? How do you feel?
I think we need to be optimistic by subversion, because it's too easy to be dark. We could be together in a studio and doing a dark piece of music. It's very easy to do. In 2 hours, you can do it. Being more dynamic and positive, not being cheesy, is far more difficult. And actually, I think that, artificial intelligence is also means that we don't know where we go, as Salvador Dali was saying so well. The fact that for centuries we thought that a cloud is random, the shape is evolving in a random way, like the smoke of a cigarette. And one day mathematicians said, no, it's a very complex equation, but you can put this in an equation. So why not emotions or feelings? I have one track in this album called Robots Don't Cry, and I should have called it Robots Don't Cry So Far, because maybe one day robots will be able to have nostalgia. Who knows?
Do you anticipate that you would end up working with an artificially intelligent assistant that might just help you with some of your arrangements and so on, and you'll work and collaborate together, and it'll just be like riffing with another musician, really?
For this project, I wanted originally to collaborate with an algorithm and artificial intelligence, maybe for the ending of one or two tracks. And it was a bit too soon. I think it will be ready for my next project in a few months. It's really tomorrow morning. But in 2018, what I could do 6 months ago when I was doing the album, either collaborating with an algorithm able to imitate, as we know, copy laboriously a Beatles song or a Michael Jackson song, and that's not very interesting, or feeding an algorithm with a melody, and this algorithm will give back a kind of Pachelbel, Vivaldi, or Johann Sebastian Bach type of version, which is not necessarily groovy or interesting. But my next project is definitely to be involved. I'm involved with lots of people from Google and Microsoft and the Flow Machine from Sony. I mean, they're all working on very, very interesting concept. It was a bit early. I think when I come back next time talking to you with probably a true collaboration, maybe not with a robot, but with an algorithm.
And finally on Jean-Michel Jarre, we're going to play out with a bit of additional material that Jean-Michel Jarre gave us, but not before we briefly heard a few listener comments. So I posted up a picture of Jean-Michel Jarre and me on the Facebook group. But Mark Henry says it's great that when he made that album, he didn't even have sequences, etc. You know, when he was making his original Oxygen and
really
Equinox.
Experimentalist, a true experimentalist. Yeah.
Conrad Taylor quite rightly says it's still Delia Derbyshire for me. Radiophonic Workshop.
She still beats it.
Yeah, Daphne Oram, very important female pioneers in this field. John Cito used to listen to Jean-Michel Jarre during his teenage years. Loads of these. Leon Venedictu says, I'm a huge fan. I bought a Yamaha synthesizer keyboard because of Jean-Michel Jarre, a great visionary of music. And Patricia Reichel says, I had some of his cassette tapes. So, some love there for Jean-Michel Jarre, but there won't be much love for me because we're already running over. We're going to get kicked out of the studio.
We need to stop,
Hasn't it been lovely?
It has.
As ever. But so here's a bit of and we'll play out the podcast of this. Good. We don't need to come back to me, folks. We can just play out on this. Some extra Jean-Michel Jarre. And this is really the beginning of the interview when he sat down and I was just gathering my breath, trying to think of a first question. And I said, well, tell us a bit more about these album covers. Where are they coming from? This is what he said. See you next week, folks. Goodbye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Actually, it's I would say that it's quite appropriate to talk together about this project on Click, because this whole project is based on my fascination for the evolution of technology. The fact that 40 years ago I released quite a successful album just after Oxygen called Equinox, and some people may remember that this iconic cover about these watchers, looking at you, these strange creatures. I've always been intrigued by these creatures, and I said, okay, it could be fun in my life to for once to start an album project by the artwork. And then I met on Instagram a very talented young artist in Czechia, in Prague, a great talented artist on 3D computer graphics, and I asked him to imagine what I had in mind and to illustrate what I had in mind about what happened to these creatures 40 years later and also in 40 years. And they are symbolizing and at a very early stage I said, okay, I would like to do the same music as a soundtrack of this scenario I imagine in my mind, but with two different covers. So everybody will be able to choose between two different covers. One being more optimistic, maybe more like a utopia, and the other one more apocalyptic or dystopian. And this whole idea linked with technology, for me, these creatures and these watchers are symbolizing the evolution of technology since I started, from the analog world to the digital world to artificial intelligence. And the fact that these watchers, they are observing us as technology is learning from us. We know that lots of people around us are actually looking at their smartphone, their tablets, more than their own partner or their own family. And also, this technology is watching us, is watching all of us, studying us, knowing you better, so they can sell products you don't really need, and also spying on our private lives, and maybe one day taking over through artificial intelligence. And this is exactly what I've been interested in for this Equinox Infinity project.